Welcome to the New Year's episode of Be Well with Dr. Michelle Greenwell. And I'm so glad that you've tuned in. And even if it's not New Year's, just the opportunity to do this little ritual will reset you and put you on a pathway for success and reflection and development. So let's enjoy this time together. This is a New Year's reflection, bringing together the intention of the Highland Splendor tea with the 1909 first flight on Baddeck Bay tea. And with this one, I want you to be able to listen in two ways with two perspectives. If you're listening to this in the early days of the year, or at the quiet edge between what was and what's emerging for you, I want to offer you something different today. So it's not a plan, not a resolution. It's a kind of pause. We're going to set the tone for moving forward. And with this setting, it's about not doing more, but actually seeing differently. So I've been sitting on an idea for a while, long enough to let it steep. And it felt right to share it with you, my community, as we enter into this new year together. So this is the power of the tea ritual, and to bring this into your day and make it a part of what you do. So as I do that, I'm just going to show you what I prepared today. So this is my teapot, and I wanted to bring in a little bit of fun and color today. And then I have one of the cups my mom found for me, which has poppies all over it, which is also very powerful. So choosing the right cup, of course, is important. So I'm just going to pour that tea. Oh my goodness, it smells amazing. Okay. So originally I had thought about steeping Highland Splendor because I love the idea of considering the view from the top. But then I thought about creativity and new possibilities, and I felt that if I brought in the connection of 1909 first flight on Baddeck Bay, then I could bring in the ideas of preparation, belief, and collaboration to provide an aerial focus for success. So together I felt like these two could be so much more. Highland Splendor carries the energy of elevation, of standing high enough to see the land differently. It reminds me of what happens when we step out of our usual patterns and allow ourselves a much wider view. First flight on Baddeck Bay brings you into the details of what happens below before you begin that soaring, and how those initial thoughts and connections create the energy for lift and for the ability to soar. And if you have either tea with you, then I would invite you to join me with it now. And if you don't have that, then you can bring in whatever you have beside you. Maybe a tea that you chose yourself for this moment, or maybe it's water. Either way, we can infuse it. You can put your hands around your beverage, and you can infuse the intentions that I'm going to suggest here now. So as you hold your cup, notice the weight of it in your hands. Feel the warmth. Let your shoulders soften. Just that smell allowed me to focus into there isn't a rush. Tea teaches us that nothing meaningful happens instantly. For most of my life, I've worked with movement, healing the body. I've enjoyed incredible times with dance, Tai Chi, with bioenergetic wellness, and with community spaces. And what I've learned again and again is this: healing rarely happens when we push. It happens when we rise enough above the moment to see the clarity without leaving ourselves behind. Tea becomes a way to help people to do that. It's a pause. It's a place to land, and it's a way to gain perspective. Now, Highland Splendor reminds us that sometimes we need to climb, not to escape our lives, but to understand them. And from the top of the mountain, the pathway down looks very different. What felt overwhelming begins to organize itself. And what felt stuck reveals options we couldn't see before. Perspective is a form of healing. So First Flight on Baddeck Bay provides you with a plan or pathway of discovery, and it leads to new perspectives. And these two T's certainly complement. What I should bring in is 1909 First Flight on Baddeck Bay, for those of you who are not from Cape Breton, is about the first flight that was taken in Canada on the Silver Dart plane. And it was Alexander Graham Bell who brought a team together. And when they were doing the first flights in the US, he was complementing that by preparing for the first flight in Canada. His wife, Mabel, was a part of the activities, and she prepared for all the guests who were arriving. And Mabel was a botanist. She loved nature. She had a huge herbal garden. And so when the guests were all coming in after the flight, she had prepared Alexander's favorite beverage, which was raspberry and lemon in a kind of like a vinegar. It makes a cordial. And it was in February. So I'm not sure exactly how she prepared that, because in the summertime, that would have been more like a lemonade. So what I did is I paired that with a pu'er black tea. And black tea around these parts is very common, not usually with raspberry and lemon. But I chose the pu'er because it caramelized, it softened it. And I wanted the thoughts of how invention and collaboration softens us to be able to be open to the new. And so I'm just going to bring forward two of those ingredients. Now there is lemon in the tea, but I'm going to go to the lemon verbena. This one is about uplifting the spirit, creating the space for change to happen naturally and with interest and excitement. And the raspberry is about compassionate self-protection and nurturing relationships. Together, these two herbs help to establish boundaries and expectations that keep our spirit alive and vibrant, the assistance of others, and a way for us to create where we can grow with love and acceptance. All right, I'm feeling like it's time to sip. So let's do that. I just need, the smell has just been coming up. And I want to remind you, as I tell you in the podcast, that first initial sip goes beyond the nervous system, goes back into the limbic system. That's where all the regulatory pieces are happening. And in that limbic system, it connects to the motor system. So you have that calmness that tells your body you don't need to worry about being heightened to run. You can sit back, you can relax, you can let go. And that little signal is the start of change. So let's have a sip. That connection with the herbs, with all the hands who touched all the ingredients before it arrived to us, for the growth that those plants did, the sun that shone upon it, the earth that nurtured it. All right, as you're sipping on your tea, I'm going to invite you to hold this affirmation gently. No forcing, just allowing. From the top of the mountain, we are inspired. From a new perspective, we are empowered. From outside our regular selves, we discover the hidden jewels of who we are and where we're meant to go. Let those words settle the way tea settles in your body. So many of us enter a new year already overbrewed, unintended. We have too many expectations, we have a lot of pressure on us, and there's little space for us to explore. Tea teaches us something essential. Timing matters. Too little time, and the medicine hasn't arrived. Too much time, bitterness takes over. Wisdom lives in attunement. So as we're facing 2026, and walking over the threshold of that into the year of the fire horse, which is my year. I'm so excited. Instead of asking, what should I accomplish this year? I'm going to invite you to ask, what would become clear if I allowed myself a higher view? What wants to be seen and solved? What hidden jewel is waiting for your attention? All right, I'm just going to let that sit for a moment. So tea is safety for our nervous system. There's a reason this works on such a deep level. And when someone comes to the door and they need to chat, what do we say? Let's put on the cup of tea. That's what happens in Cape Breton anyway. Warmth signals safety to the nervous system. Ritual creates predictability, and presence restores coherence. Tea doesn't demand that we change. It creates the conditions where change can emerge naturally. One of the most powerful things about tea is that it welcomes everyone. You don't need to have the right language. You don't need the right belief. You don't need to explain yourself. You just need to arrive. And that kind of belonging is rare and deeply healing. As you step into this year, I invite you to reflect, not urgently and not all at once, but just let these questions kind of sift over you. Where in my life am I being invited to rise into a new perspective? What truth becomes visible when I slow down long enough to see? What hidden jewel within me is ready to be claimed? And as these questions steep, they don't need answers today. They just need the space for wondering. As you move forward into this year, may you remember, you don't have to rush your becoming. You don't have to push for clarity. You're allowed to gain perspective before you decide. May your cup be warm. May your view be wide. And may Highland Splendor, in 1909, first flight on Baddeck Bay, remind you that from higher ground, possibility reveals itself. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Many blessings as you move forward with your dreams and goals. As we move into the interviews that are coming with the podcast, we continue to dive deeper into the healing power that we all have, that innate healing potential. You're going to see some incredible interviews coming up, and we're also going to be opening some perspectives as we move into season 6. That happens in March. Wishing you all the very best. Remember, be well. This is your journey. Take care.